This is my preferred spod rod and reel combination. Talking about the rod first of all, it's brand new from Daiwa. This is the Longbow DF spod rod, and this is the long range version. So there's a spod and marker that I've obviously got as my marker rod, and a spod as well. This is a little bit heavier than the other one, so it's going to cast that spod a little bit further. If you do a lot of spodding, this is the one for you. If you're new to it, then I'd say have the spod and marker as your spod rod and your marker rod, because it's ever so slightly softer and it's that little bit easier to cast. This is a real animal of a rod, snaps back straight really quickly, really fast recovery. And this came from a day we spent with one of the Japanese rod builders called Nori from Daiwa. We took him over to a lake, got a load of bites at long range, showed him what long range spodding was because he'd never seen it before, said what the rod needed to do, and he's come up with this one, and it is absolutely brilliant. Casts miles. I'm getting this one. This is going out 85 yards and it's hitting the clip about 30 yards in the air. So I can get a spot out with these probably 150 yards. So very, very fast recovery, 50mm butt ring, built exactly the same as all the other longbows, so really stylish. That is an absolutely brilliant rod for long range spodding. So moving down to the reel, the old faithful Daiwa spod reel. Got a really large line clip on it there to take all the sort of shock out of the cast. So you'll notice when I am casting, the rod will go up in the air, it'll hit the clip, and I'll lay that spod as gently as I can on the surface. And that's one of the tricks to spodding, not letting it plummet in and make loads of noise. Just drop that spod on the surface. You imagine if you were just there in a boat and you were just sprinkling all the bait out by hand and making absolutely no splash. That's what you're trying to achieve when you're actually spodding. Now that's loaded up with Daiwa tournament braid. That's 30-pound braid that's really, really thin. It's a floating braid, pure Dyneema, so it goes absolutely miles, but you do have to treat it with respect. So keep splashing the spool when you're spodding, keep it wet all the time, and you won't get any big frap ups coming up the rod, braid carnage as we call it. And that's attached to a 30-pound armour cord leader. Now that's so strong, that stuff, I don't need 50-pound on this rod to take out the force of the cast. 30-pound is more than enough, and that forms a really small knot. It's a 4-turn water knot, and you can't even hear that go through the rings. Then moving down to the spod itself, very proud of this one. I designed this quite a few years ago. This is the Skyliner spod. We've updated it a little bit in recent years and put those stiff tails on there that are specially moulded, so you just clip them in when you buy the spod. The thing that makes this so good, it's extremely lightweight. Weighs almost nothing with no bait in it at all. A very buoyant nose cone and great big holes on it as well. So when it hits the surface, it flushes the bait out very quickly. You'll notice I'm flicking it a few times, just dragging it along the surface, just getting that bait to come out of it as quickly as possible, flicking it up off the surface, and those stiff tails help get the back out of the water, and it just glides in along the surface. Now, if I wanted to go further, what I would do is slip that helicopter sleeve up there. I've got a thing called a ring clip, which is actually made for helicopter rigs on there, but that just allows me to take the spod on and off easily. And what I would do is move over to a Sky Raider, which is a little bit smaller, so it's a bit lighter when it's full of bait. It's more nose heavy, so it's tapered towards the back, so it goes even further, and that's going to probably put another 20 yards on my spodding. So when this one starts to drop short, then I move over to the Sky Raider. And if I'm only spodding boilies, or I'm spodding maggots, or sloppy spod mix, if I'm spodding over zigs, I'll move over to the Sky Winder, because the holes are only at the very top of that spod, so the rest of it can be filled with liquid and you don't lose any on the cast. So that's a real good addition. If you do a lot of spodding, put one of those on the end and then cover it up with one of those helicopter sleeves. It's all nice and neat, and you can change from one spod to the other without having to break the line down. Now, in this situation, I put about 30 spodfuls out. There's a lot of fish in this lake, probably 500 carp or more. I'm told the area is really productive out there, so I put a fair bit of bait in to start off with, and then I'll probably put 3 or 4 out every time I get a bite, and just try and build that swim and build it and build it. And if you notice, when I'm casting, all my weight is on my back foot, and then it will transfer through my body, through the cast, onto my front foot at the end of the cast. So you're using your body weight to help the spod go out there. A lot of people, they're very cramped up. They don't hold the rod at the very base of the rod. Their hands are too close together. They're a little bit cramped up, and they don't cast very far. Make sure your arms are really extended. You lean back, all your weight's on the back foot, and through it goes nice and smoothly, and that will get a lot more distance. Make sure the spod's hanging down about half the length of the rod, roughly where the spigot is each time. Get it in the same place every time, and then back and then through. Really, really important. One other thing, just to show you here, I've got on my wrist something that I take for granted that I could never cast without is one of those. Reuben Heaton finger stall, you can see that's done some real miles, that one. But that takes away the force on your finger. So you've got a very thin braid there, a powerful rod. You're going to really feel that on your finger, and just putting one of those on will get you more distance. And when you're winding the spod in, don't fight with it. See a lot of people striking and striking. I just flick the braid up off the surface and then wind it in just a constant pace, and you find it won't keep dipping down under the surface. Then up to your hand, straight into the bucket, press it down with your thumb, the same drop on the rod, roughly opposite the spigot, and then whack it back out again, hit the clip and drop a bit more bait. And that is the key to spodding, is practice. So get it to go straight before you get it to go long. Use the right kit, make sure it's all nicely balanced. It's a great way to get loads of small items out in the swim, and on lakes like this, it can get you loads of bites.